In this video, we're going to create the conversation controllers and the messages controller. So under F controller, we're going to create a new file named conversations underscore controller.rb. Now here I'm going to create a new class named conversations controller and extend from application controller. Now, as usual, we're going to create a private method for conversation params. So here I'm just say conversations params, and very simple. We're going to say params permit sender ID and recipient ID. Next, because this conversation controller requires the authenticate user, so we're going to say before action call authenticate user. Next, we're going to create a new action named index. Right, in that action, first we're going to create a new users variable to get all of the users. We just use this one for testing purpose, so in later step we're going to remove this. And now the other thing we want to do is the conversations. So this variable going to get the involving current user. So if you remember that in the model we just got the scope name involving, so what it does is going to get all of the conversation involving to this current user, and we're going to start it in this variable, and in the view we're going to use this variable to get all of the conversation. Now the next action we want to do is create. So in this action we're going to check conversation dot between params sender ID and params recipient ID. Alright, if that one present, then we'll do something, otherwise we do the other thing. Okay, so if we can find a conversation between these two users, then we're going to say conversation equal conversation dot between params sender ID params recipient ID dot first. Otherwise, the conversation equal conversation dot create, and we're going to pass the conversation params. So basically, first we're going to check if there is a conversation between this user, and if that is the case, then we're going to get the first one. Otherwise, we're going to create a brand new one. All right. After that, we're going to redirect to conversation messages path, and we're going to pass this conversation variable into. Now, don't worry if you a bit confused thing here, but I'm going to show you when you finish the view, and you will get the idea behind this. Moving on, we're going to create the messages controller. So under F controllers, we're going to create a new file named messages underscore controller.rb. And here we're going to create a new messages controller, and again extend from application controller. Yeah, and the first thing we want to do, as usual, we're going to get new message params method, and here we're going to say params dot require message dot permit content and user ID. And also we're going to create another private method, which is set conversation. So we got a conversation equal conversation dot file, right? And here we're going to pass params conversation ID. The reason we'll create this method is because we're going to use that for different action. But for now, we just need to say before action authenticate user, because this controller requires people to log it in, so that's why we need to check authenticated user. And also we say before action set conversation. Now here we're going to create index action. So I'm saying index, and another action we need to create is create further index action. Now first we're going to check if the current user equal the conversation dot sender, or the current user equal conversation dot recipient. And if that is the case, and we'll do something here, otherwise just end. So if the current user equals sender or equal recipient, so that means this user involvement to this conversation. And if that is the case, then we're going to get other equal current user, and here we're going to check if the current user equal the conversation dot sender, then other would be conversation dot recipient, otherwise it would be conversation dot sender. Next we're going to say the messages equal conversation dot messages dot order. So we order by descending. Now otherwise we just redirect to conversations path, and with the alert say you don't have permission to view this. Now what's happening here, first this index action is the action to list all the messages between two users. Now first we need to check if the current user is either one of them, the sender or the recipient. So if that is the case, then we're going to get a new variable named other. So this other going to check if the current user is the sender, then the other should be recipient. Otherwise, it should be sender. Now for the messages, we're going to get the messages based on the conversation.messages. And here we order by the created date, so descending. So the newer should be on top. Now otherwise, if this current user is not the sender nor the recipient, then we just redirect them back to the conversation page and say you don't have the permission to view this. Now for the create action, first we need to say message equal conversation dot messages dot new, and we're going to pass the message params. And next we're going to create a new variable named messages, and that one is conversation dot messages dot order, and the same thing as we created before, created at descending. Now next we're going to check if the message can be saved. Then we're going to redirect them to conversation messages path, and we'll pass the conversation into it. Alright, so we're done with the controller. Now don't worry if you don't understand what's happening really behind the scene here. Now as I mentioned before, don't feel bad if you don't understand what's happening here, because I'm going to show you once we run the browser and you will get the idea quickly. Now the last step we want to do is open config and browse.rb. So here we're going to say resources for a conversation. We only want to do that with index and create. So inside here, I'm going to say resources, messages, and only for index and create. Okay, so that's it for the controller. In the next one, we'll be working on the view for conversation and messages, and I'll see you then.